Hey, what's going on, family? Welcome to the Finance Bro, where we have real conversations with real people about money. For my first guest on the show, I have no other than my brother, Andre Truss. I'm going to let him introduce himself to you guys. I'm very excited to have him here. We're about to have a great conversation as we always do. And I look forward to you guys learning something today. All right. So, Andre, please introduce yourself.
First of all, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you for having me. I know this is your first show. When you're embarking on this journey, it kind of gets, kind of crazy. So I do feel very special. I feel honored that you're willing to have me as the first guest. But like Eric was saying, pretty much we ended up going to school together. I'm a graduate from the United States Naval Academy. I ended up joining the Marine Corps. I served as a Marine Corps officer, aviation supply for about 5 years. While I was in, I ended up, doing a couple things. I ended up starting a real estate company, a mortgage company. Most recently, I started a restaurant here in Jacksonville, North Carolina, looking to expand that branch and start getting us into different locations, potentially Raleigh, Charlotte, a couple more areas, looking to, build out our brand a lot more. So serial entrepreneur, I've been doing this since I was like, as long as I can remember, probably 13 or 14, even earlier, selling candy in school and doing things like that. Big on finances, big on money. So I love to have these conversations. So when Eric was telling me that, he wanted to do the show and he was getting ready to branch out and have different conversations with different people about like real money habits, absolutely, I was all for it. I'm ready to rock. So, I'm pretty excited, bro. How you feeling about it?
I'm excited. And, before we push forward, one of the things is I also want to mention that Andre Truss is my line brother. He is a member of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. You know what I'm saying? So, with this show, along with it being a show that's based on finance, I also wanted to make it comfortable for people who are in the Divine Nine and also our family and our friends who come and listen to these things, because I think there's a lot of things that are shown about the Divine Nine that doesn't really reflect the things that people like me and Andre do, and other people that will be on this show. So this is a time to highlight that, hey, these people are part of these organizations and they're doing amazing things, and I want to be able to highlight that. So, without further ado, me and Andre typically have great conversations. A lot of them, whether it's a debate or sometimes we may agree. Most of the times it's a debate, but we've had many topics on the topic of money. And so I want to open the floor to Andre so we can start talking about money and his thoughts around money, because he does have an interesting perspective when it comes to money. And a lot of people don't think that way. And it's actually helped me kind of change the way I think about some things. And I think I may have, been able to add an inkling of some changes in the way he thinks about some things as well. So I can't wait for him to share his thoughts with you guys, and, the conversation to be good. So go ahead, brother.
It's tough to kind of jump in and really kind of come from a standpoint of like how I just view money. I guess if I had to kind of sum it up, I have like this feeling that like money is everywhere, right? So I always talk about like, I view money as like an abundant resource and not just like something that's fly by night. So that's something that I realized when I was younger. Everyone that I grew up in a impoverished neighborhood, tough background, just similar story to many other people. But I started asking questions at an early age to kind of figure out, okay, what's the real problem here? Because money can't be the issue. I've studied money. I was a quantitative economics major in college, and I did pretty well in that, and I understand money. But when I was younger, I didn't understand what the difficulty was, right? And I always felt like it was user error versus there being a lack of money. I felt like it was a lack of knowledge of like what money really is, right? So if you don't understand that there's tons of money out there, then you're going to act like there's not a lot of money out there.
Right.
So once I realized, that was one of my major things was how much money is available. Let's ask that question. I've never heard anybody ask that question before, right? And not in a sense of like legitimately to the dollar, like how much money is available, but more so just like what types of money are there, right? So there's people out here making $20 billion a year. Yeah. Right. So if a person can make $20 billion a year, that means that there has to be more money than that that's out in the market. I think we can. Do you feel like that's fair, Eric?
I agree with that.
Right. So if somebody's able to make $20 billion, there has to be more than $20 billion available for them to make that $20 billion.
Absolutely.
Well, if there's a top 400 list, of a bunch of people making billions of dollars a year, then once again, there has to be a fair assessment that there's more than $100 billion that's available.
Right.
Right. So I had to start thinking about it in that sense. So if there's $100 billion available, just say low ball end, right?
Mhm.
Obviously it's more, but let's just say $100 billion. Who's to say I can't get whatever dollar value it is for me to live a very comfortable life? That's all wrapped in a limited belief, right? So I like to say that that's a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset. So if I had to kind of boil that up, to something that I think, kind of sums up how I think about money, I think of it as an abundant resource that's available everywhere. You just have to go get it and look for it and know how to look for it. Right? I think that might answer the question.
So an abundance of money is kind of what we're getting at. Is like there is an abundance of money. You just have to be able to ask the right questions and seek out the right things in order to kind of put you in the position to
See,
get
like
the money.
ask the right questions and be able to seek it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's something that is very pivotal. A lot of people don't do that, right? It's automatic, right? Kind of because I've worked with tons of business clients, so I do business coaching as well. E does more personal finance. I do more business building and broadening of their business spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So from my standpoint, a lot of what I see is always more so rooted in habits that they have that come from parents or come from somewhere that they're not able to explain why they have that habit.
Mm-hmm.
So like example, right? I'm not a big fan of saving. I don't believe in saving. I just don't, right? Obviously, ease into personal finance. So there's points in your life where saving is a must, right? I definitely get that. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. I'm at a different place in my life financially than a lot of people are. I feel very blessed about it, and I really do appreciate that. However, for me, that's a part, I guess that's a part of the philosophy, right? Like I don't really believe in saving money because like what are you saving it for, right? Money needs to I believe that money needs to always be working for you. Like no matter what, like it needs to have a job. So if your money doesn't have a job, then you basically have unemployed dollars in your account, right? And we can get fancy and we could talk about inflation rates right
Yeah.
now. What is inflation, bro? Like 7.5%.
Yeah, somewhere between 7.2 and 7.5.
Yeah, so right. So we're talking about if your money is sitting in the bank account at 0.01, or even let's say 1%, your money is losing value at 6.5% a year.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't make any sense to me. Now, obviously, there's goals and stuff like that. Like you're saving for a specific goal. Like I get that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I more so believe that there needs to be a base of how people formulate their lives. So, matter of fact, I'll jump into that. I think that might be good for them.
Okay.
Um, so I believe that there needs to be a structure to things that matter to you, right? So time is the most important resource. Money is cool, money's awesome, but the real W or the real win in your life is going to be tied to the amount of time that you have available to do the things that you actually care about.
Mm.
A lot of people don't add that in. So whenever I speak to people, they'll tell me, hey, I need more money. Their natural instinct is, let me just go get a second job, right?
Mm.
And a second job only serves one purpose, which is to take away more time. But the ultimate goal is to have more time. So it's a catch 22 of like you're making more money, but you have less time, which is the real abundant resource.
Mm.
Right. So if you don't have any time, then what's the point of having money? It doesn't really equate.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go through their lives not realizing that until it's too late. So in Ia tell you, the way that I formulate my life is I only spend money on things that give me time back.
Mm-hmm.
So where a lot of people would look at, like example, right? Like this is my favorite one. I beat E up about this all the time. He knows exactly what I'm gonna say. He beats me up on it, and we could go back and forth on this, and I'll get your opinion now to see how you feel about it. But so I joke around because E is super good with his money, right? As much as we play around, he's super phenomenal, knows how to handle money, is a very good manager of money. So as much as we joke around, like let's not forget that, right? But one of the things that E likes to do is he likes to do things himself and then pay himself for having done it. Example, like he's a phenomenal barber. He cuts my hair, he cuts his hair, he cuts a bunch of us, right? So we pay E for the barber services, not because he needs the barber services, but something that he really loves doing. So if he can make $1 while doing it and then pay himself for cutting his own hair, then, you know, over years, it kind of compounds and adds up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is like mowing the lawn, right? You knew it was coming. I had to. So I will never mow a lawn, right? And it's by no means to be disrespectful or rude or, hey, saying that mowing the lawn is negative, right? But I view time as the ultimate currency. Right? Having a full 24 hours to yourself every day is like being a billionaire in my eyes, how I view it. I'd rather have 24 hours with my bills unencumbered and no issues than be a billionaire and have no time to myself and be owed to everyone else. And that's true to my nature. Anybody being around me could tell you that, and that's a stone cold fact. Right? But the issue is that many people don't understand how much time that adds up to over a lifetime, right? So mowing the lawn on a Saturday for 4 to 5 hours might not seem that much because it's 4 to 5 hours in that moment, but 4 to 5 hours over a lifetime adds up to years of your life gone to mowing the lawn.
And that's facts.
Right. So that's just one of the things that comes into play. So for me, every chance I get, I don't buy fancy things. I don't do that. What I do is I spend money on having other individuals help me with tasks that take away my time. So I don't mow the lawn. I have somebody who does my meal prep services for me. You know, my dry cleaning, I have somebody that comes and picks it up and does it. And for me, it's all about getting my time back and tying that to being able to go make more money, because like I was saying earlier, money is everywhere. But if you have the time to think about it, then it's impossible to not find it. Yeah. The issue is that we spend so much time being caught up in everything else that we never actually get a chance to just sit and think about what money is, how it's made, the cycle of money, where does money come from? Like, you know, is it easy to get it? Is it not easy to get it? What matters to me? Like, do I actually need to live in this ridiculously nice place if I'm not making that much? Like, it's certain things like that. I know I've been rambling.
No, but
you know, I get riled up on this.
Hey, but you hit on a good point, right? Which I want to bring up real quick is because there's a separation, right? So one of the things that you mentioned that I really like is that when you pay to outsource these services, it's not just to sit around and do nothing. You take that time that you got back and you utilize that to create another asset for yourself or another basically, like you always say, IPAs, right? Or income producing activities. So you find a way to make that time valuable towards you, which I think for many people, they have to learn to make that distinction, which can be hard sometimes because it's very difficult for some people, you know, when they're trying to figure this thing out, to be like, hey, you know, well, I'm not going to cut the grass. Well, I saved myself 4 hours, but I'm going to go out to lunch today. I'm going to go to happy hour and just spend bread, right? As opposed to a person that's like, hey, I got this 4 or 5 hours back. I'm going to go do this planning and make some phone calls and make some things happen and see what I can get pushing forward to get me where I want to be, wherever it may be financially, right? And I think that's an extremely important point, right? Because you can have the same action and produce two completely different results if you don't stay on track. So I think that was a good point.
So I'll flip this back on you, right? Obviously, you work with tons of clients in personal finance. So would you say that you feel like, how do you feel about how people view money? Do you feel like more people view money as a scarce item, or that it's actually very abundant and available to them?
Oh, scarcity. Most people see it as a scarce item that can't be collected.
Which is tough, because it's like the sad part about that is that that's false. Right? It's statistically false. It's like economically false. Like there's tons of data and, you know, statistical points that say that that's not true. The issue is it comes from our learning and our background, right? I always say this too, and you'll hear me. I don't take advice from anyone who hasn't done what I'm trying to do. Right? So if you don't have $10,000 in your bank account, I'm not going to listen to you tell me how to make $10,000. If you don't have $100,000 in your bank account, I'm not going to listen to you tell me how to make $100,000. If you don't have $1 million in your bank account, I'm not going to listen to you tell me how to make $1 million. It's just, but the sad part about it is that I got my advice from it was a weird sense, bro, because picture this, right? So my mom was always big into saving, right? I love my mom to death, but she knows me. I'm not taking financial advice from her.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not to be rude or disrespectful. That's not what my mom does.
Yeah.
My mom was a great leader. She showed me how to maneuver. She showed me how to be a stand-up guy. She told me about principles and values, but finances wasn't her strong point. So because it wasn't her strong point, I had to go find other people that understood money. Right. For me, I was limited to the people in my neighborhood, and limited in the people in my neighborhood had no resources. So they were telling me like, hey, money doesn't grow on trees. Money does grow on trees. Money is very abundantly just falling from the skies. The issue is when you speak to people who understand that, their conversation is completely different. Yeah. Right? It isn't, oh, we can't have that because of X. It's like, hey, what have you done to set yourself up to have an asset that pays for that? It's very different. It's a very different conversation. So I remember, I got my mentor, Brian, when I was about 16. Just luck of the draw, just to be completely honest. I won't act like I had a plan there. Complete luck of the draw. Took a liking to me and just wanted to mentor me. And then, I don't know how God works, but I appreciate it.
Hey, that's a blessing.
And I remember speaking to Brian, and he was kind of like, I remember just being, one day I'm gonna be a millionaire. Brian was like, he kind of looked at me as though like, a millionaire, that's pretty basic, bro. But like, coming from where we come from, it's like, being a millionaire almost seems like impossible.
Yes.
Right? It literally seems impossible. And it seems impossible because most people don't understand that being a millionaire is a mathematical equation. Right? Once you start to boil it down to a mathematical equation, everything becomes more simple. So if we're talking about, what is $1 million? You could put $6,000 into, and which I'm not a fan of IRAs and stuff like that, but I'll use that as an example. You put 6,000 into an IRA when your kid is 0. By the time they're 30, that'd be $1 million. Yeah. If you add $100 to it a month, that'd be $1 million, bro. By the time they're 30. So like, even generational wealth, like you can switch their life for $6,000 and $100 a month.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's a mathematical equation that we don't get put out there a lot, or you get deemed like, that's one of the things that we'll talk about too, is like, when you're intelligent with this stuff, you almost get alienated. Because I remember going back and speaking to everybody. I'm like, hey, money is abundant. They're like, oh, stop with the manifestation stuff. I'm like, hey, I do believe in manifestation. Absolutely. But it's not manifestation. It's a mathematical equation. Like, what is a high income skill? Coding? Then you need to go code, bro. Yeah. It's that simple. Like, there isn't anything around it. You need to go code, get your money up to a point where you're able to actually, turn some stuff over or organize yourself in a way that you're good. And then now you can plan when you have a base. And that's what I mean by money is abundant. When you stop looking at money for, I need sneakers, or I need, or I need like the fanciest car. Life is actually really cheap.
Yeah, facts. It is.
Life is ridiculously cheap. It's just a matter of nobody knows their numbers. And everybody feels like they're in a predicament where they can't get more, but you can't get more because you're not putting yourself in a predicament to have a high paying skill. That's just the way money is made. A high paying skill, whether that's sales, marketing, coding, IT, wherever the world is trending to. Even like I started in real estate agency. Yeah. Right. Some of these commission checks are $7,000 to $20,000 a check. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's a ridiculous amount of money. Some people don't make $20,000 in a year.
Nah, yeah.
And one check can be $7,000 to $20,000 depending on where you're at, right? And it's more so about asking questions. And sometimes I'll come off because I'm pretty straightforward. Obviously, you know me, I'm kind of blunt. Yeah. But I don't like to lie to people. That's not my thing. I'm never gonna sugarcoat it, right? A lot of the problems that you're facing is in your hands. So the first step is stop feeling like money is not reserved for you. Money is reserved for everyone. Everyone can have money. The issue is having a steadfast plan, being organized, and understanding what's true to you. Right? Do you feel like I'm off base? You normally have a rebuttal for me. What you got today?
No, I agree wholeheartedly with everything you're saying right now. Because one of the things that I emphasize, especially with working with clients, is the basis. You got to have a plan, and a lot of people jump into it without knowing where they want to go. And I think that causes a lot of the problems, and that because they get so overwhelmed, because like you said, it's abundant. You can literally pick any direction. But like you brought up with real estate, I remember in 2016 when you hit me up, I was in Okinawa, and you were like, "Hey bro, I'm starting real estate." And me, once again, not knowing anything about it, I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like not realizing the gold mine that you had just stepped on, right? But that's because we never been introduced to that, on that side. So it's, once again, the only reason you find, you sought out the questions and found the answers, right? And now look at it. You did it. Now everybody's coming around like, hey, real estate, right? So it gets very difficult very quickly if you don't have a plan and you don't know what you do. And I know, you spoke about too, along with that, placing value on what matters to you and nobody else. Because I personally think, especially from what I'm working with clients and things, that a lot of people with finances are kind of held back mentally because they're trying to compare themselves or live the lives that someone else is living. And I don't know if you can personally speak about that or you have anything for that, but I do think that that's a huge thing, because when you're trying to live to be someone else, you don't know what makes you happy. So even if you get what they have, you still may not be happy at the end of the day.
I think you're spot on. That was something I struggled with, right? So I didn't even know that there's brackets, right? So so obviously there's brackets, but I didn't know that there's like real like statistical brackets.
Mm-hmm.
So in the age brackets of like 28 to 30, I'm considered a like all-star performer for my age,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like net worth wise, I'm super ahead of a lot of people. And I didn't feel ahead. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm behind. But then that's because I was comparing myself to everyone else. So my mentor, he actually just like lost it on me one day. We were talking and I'm like, hey man, like here's my net worth. I'm so close to, the goals that he and I, you know, I'm comparing myself to a 58-year-old white male.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think I was 26. So I'm like, hey, I'm super close to the number. Oh my God, I can't wait for this. And he's like, yo, Andre, shut up, bro. Shut up. Shut up. You haven't even analyzed yourself. You probably been past the number that you needed to never work again.
Yeah.
And bro, for me, based off like everything I need, 60 to 70,000 a year, I'm good. I don't have any debt. Like now, let me rephrase this. Right, I don't have any debt. I own everything. I've been pretty good with money, so I'm not in any type of debt in any type of way. I don't have student loans. I don't have credit card debt. I don't have, a car payment. I don't have anything of those nature. I just own everything. So 60 to 70 with ownership of everything is similar to maybe 120 a year, 130 a year. So making 60 to 70 passively, I can live for the rest of my life, without an issue. And that's with a family, with organization. And in my mind, I always thought like, I need 700,000 a year at the minimum.
Right here with you.
At the minimum. Right. And it's like, why? Why do you need that number?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's what I mean by like life is really abundant, but a lot of people don't live their lives. So once I started living my lives, and obviously you're my LB, my best friend and a brother of mine. So we've been living our lives together and a lot of this journey we've done together. But think about how our lives have changed once we detached from, the materialistic values of life and focus more on like what matters to us.
That's been a huge
It's
change.
it's been a life changer.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I feel a lot less stressed. I don't work as much as I used to. I used to be logging 18-hour days comfortably for 5 years, like sleeping like 4 hours a night, and which was just super unnecessary. Now I appreciate that point in my life. It definitely got me ahead, but it also made me realize how fickle a lot of this stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
So really, what I'm trying to get a point across to people is you need to take some time to understand what matters to you, and then go live abundantly in that. Right. So I'm a tried and true minimalist. I know that's become a thing recently, but I've been in the minimalism since I believe 2013. It's been something that I study like religiously. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And minimalism, people mistake that for like just not needing anything. That's actually false. Right? Minimalism is like the act, or the act of living in only what matters to you.
Mm-hmm.
Only what matters to you. So I might not go get a pair of Gucci's because I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have them on. I don't care who has them on. I just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I don't care about fancy cars. I just don't care. But for me, I care about experiences.
Yeah.
So Eric could tell you that I'm quick to spend some dollars on an experience. Like, hey, let's take a trip here and stay in the nicest of hotels and do it correctly. I spend money on that because that matters to me. I spend money on books because that matters to me. I spend money on myself in terms of like courses, and I spend upwards of $30,000 to $50,000 on courses just on personal knowledge, right? Because that matters to me. So what I'm saying is I want people to really just start living in what matters to them. And that's what creates the abundance. That's when you realize that you don't need $10,000 a month. You might only really need $3,000. But by getting that $3,000 a month, it allows you to then unlock what you want to do, which allows you to make $60,000 a month. Because when you become good at something, when you become skilled at something, that allows you to make money abundantly. Like I had one of my clients, bro. He reached out to me. Him and his wife were like, they're both killers, doing extremely well. And I think his wife had like 300,000 in student debt. And they were paying that student debt down aggressively. I mean, like not going out, not eating anything, like just each month, like putting like $20,000 towards. And I'm like, and then I had a convo with him. I said, bro, like, why are you doing that? He was like, yeah, once we get rid of the loan, each month our bill is like $2,000. But we're paying 20 towards it and we're trying to cut it in half or whatever, cut the time. I said, bro, the amount of time and energy that you guys are putting into that, you could build a real estate portfolio. You can build a business. You can buy another existing business. You can do all of these things that just pays the $2,000 each month.
Yeah.
And now it's like the $2,000 is already taken care of. And now you're technically debt free because you have an asset that's in longevity going to pay for the thing.
Yeah, that's
another convo for another day. We talk about tying assets to things. Like this house pays for this car. This rental property pays for the house that I live in. Right? This node, I'm not even gonna go.
Yeah, don't. Oh,
this node pays for all of my trips for the year. Credit card points. There's so much ways to win. What I'm trying to do is I want to spark the conversation. I want people to listen to this message and I want them to take away two things from it. Either they're going to say Andre is a jerk. I don't like that guy. Or they're going to say, hey man, he really has a point. Like I have kind of just been looking at like, how are you going to, I don't think anyone can ever name anyone who saved their way to $1 million. I'd be willing to bet. I'd be willing to bet a large sum of money on it that you cannot tell me that there's a paid person who saved their way to $1 million or saved their way to X, because the numbers just don't add up. So what do you think is the starting salary coming out of college?
Depend, like for just like an average salary?
Yeah.
Maybe about 28, 30.
All right. So let's say 30, but let's just bump it up. Let's go 45.
It's 45. Oh, yeah, 45. Yeah, let's do that.
So 45 coming out of college with a college degree in something that is applicable. 45,000. Let's say after taxes, they get 38.
Okay.
Right. So I don't know what 38 equates to each month. What, 3,000, a little bit less than, a little bit over 3,000, like 32.
3,300. Yeah.
All right. So let's say 3,200 a month. What's the average rent?
I mean, in North Carolina, it was probably about 1,000.
So take 1,000 off that. So 3,200 minus 1,000, we're at what, 2,200 now, right?
Yep.
Most people come out with student loans. I don't know. I know you're more versed in that.
Yeah,
what do you think is an average student loan monthly payment? 600 a month. So now they're at 22. So minus 600 is what, 36? I'm at 1,600.
Yeah.
So now they're at 1,600, right? Car payment 400. So now they're at 1,200. Miscellaneous.
Gotten to living, grocery,
just living, utilities. Right? So let's just say another $600. So now we're down to $600 remaining. 600 times 12 is $3,600. $1 million divided by $3,600 is you're never going to get there.
It is. That's true.
You
That's
see what I'm
true.
saying? Right. So the only way to get ahead financially is to start realizing that money is abundant. Yes, but you have to go take it. It's not just available. Right. That's the nonsense. That's when it's like, oh, just believe of money and to come to you. That's all cap. That's not real. That's all lies. Right. It becomes a matter of you have to make a decision to say that there is so much money out there. I refuse to not get a piece of the pie. Mm. And every person that I know that has made that transition from thinking like, oh, I just gotta, save and scrape by, and we just gotta make it by, versus the people who have like, all right, you know what, scraping by is not gonna work for me. I don't like that. So I gotta either get a high income producing skill. Like let's run that scenario back on a high producing skill. So I think Facebook coders right now are starting at like 180.
Okay.
So let's say 180, but let's take 50,000 in taxes. Mm-hmm. So at 130. But let's run that same exact scenario, right? The same exact scenario, the same exact numbers, right? Mm-hmm. So 130,000, let's just say 144,000 just to make it easier. So that's 12,000 a month. Mm-hmm. Minus that same 3,200 from earlier, which is now 8,800 a month. Mm-hmm. Now they have 8,800 a month in excess. 8,800 times 12 is a little bit over 100,000. That can be saved. So now if you're getting 100,000 pocketed a year for 10 years, that's $1 million. You're done after 10 instead of hoping to get to 1 million after 45 years.
Yeah.
It's a whole different process. That's not even talking about if they invest the money, they could be done in 5, which is what I did. High income producing skill while working my job, while building out my businesses for 5 years, and now I'm done.
Yeah.
Right. So that should be the thought process, but that's because I realized that, real estate is a $1 billion like $20 billion industry. I can't get 0.0001% of that.
Right. Just a piece.
You see what I'm saying? Right. So I think that's a majority of my, I'll jump off the soapbox, but I get riled up with this because I do, obviously you and I both believe in people a lot, and we care about, what they're learning and the journey that they're facing, and life is difficult. Yeah. Right. So, but what we're never going to do is throw a pity party and say, life is only difficult for you, or life is only difficult for X, because every person, statistically showing that has decided to pull themselves up by their bootstraps has made it in one way, shape, form, or another.
Right.
Right. So it's, I just want to get people out of that scarcity mindset, man. There's so much money out there. How can Elon Musk lose $60 billion, right? Think about that. There's a dude who just lost $60 billion and is still okay.
And went on about his life. That's the crazy part. And went on about his life.
It's just how we view money. So many times, man, and it's like, and now don't get me wrong, right? Things like that might matter to people. Mm-hmm. Like getting a fancy car might matter to them. Might really deeply matter to them to have the best Jordans because they like sneaker collecting.
Yeah.
But at least do it for money.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like there has to be a sense of like, I'm going to do whatever I really like doing for money. I love real estate. So I did it for money.
Yeah.
I was intimate with the mortgage process because I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to know how to forever get deals done. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, let me start a mortgage brokerage so that I know exactly what a mortgage loan is supposed to look like to the T. So whenever I want to go get a loan, I just pre-approve myself mentally and then I send it in.
Yeah.
Right. I love coaching people. So coaching business, right? There needs to be something that like puts us out there, because if you don't, man, it's such a difficult life. That scenario I ran earlier, man, with somebody making $3,200 a month is like, you have $600 in excess times 12. That's $7,200 a year times 10. That's $72,000 in 10 years. the average down payment on our house is $20,000 to $30,000. Right? What are we even talking about? You're never gonna have any money.
Yeah.
And the trick to the trade is learning that as early as possible. Learning that when you're 18, that if you do a full sprint until you're 25, you can actually never work again.
Yeah, it's with making the right decisions, and
Yeah.
and I mean, I think a lot of that feeds into it keeps going back to it, but seeking the answers, having mentors, and but we've seen something a lot too from the opposite side of the spectrum where you kind of provide the information to people and they just don't receive it.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to use it, but then you hear them go back and complain about the same thing you just gave them the answer to. So it's like
Why do you think that is?
you know that's it's a difficult question. I've been trying to figure that one out for a while, and I don't know if it's necessarily just one answer for everyone, but I if I'm speaking my mind, I think some people just like living in a manner where they feel like they have to complain.
I would agree. I think once people realize that accountability is a thing, if they take accountability of themselves, then they have to relinquish the accountability to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for me, I think everything is my fault. I don't care what it is.
Yeah, and
If
we
I'm
feel
broke,
that
that's my
faithfully.
fault. If I'm broke, that's my fault.
Yeah.
If I'm not living in the place that I want to live, it's my fault. Right. Because, and I'll leave it on this, right? A lot of people don't like when I say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I wouldn't be me if I don't, right? So I have a motto.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, hey, we all get the same 24. False. We don't get the same 24. Right? You get your base 24 hours and as many hours you can pay for.
Mm.
As many hours as you can pay for. So you can't be angry at Jeff Bezos, who can pay for 1,000,000,000,000 hours of labor. Yeah. But the thing is, like, that's not limited. Like, I'll have people too. This is my favorite one, right? I had this young lady call me bougie the other day because I told her I have like sometimes I'll have a cleaner just come by and clean the house. And she's like, oh, you don't clean it yourself? I said, I clean my house. My house is clean. But I'm also like, I don't really like germs and dirt like that. So I want a professional cleaner to come, every once in a while and come really do a deep, like they're focused on just cleaning all day.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, that's bougie. You must have too much money. And I looked down at her feet and I'm like, okay, how much were your Jordans? It wasn't Jordans, it was Yeezys. She had like the Yeezy, it was like Yeezy something. I said, how much are your Yeezys? She's like, oh, $450. I said, my clean cost $200. You just associated, and this is what I mean by like the mental, right? Yeah. She just associated the fact that I said cleaner on my behalf as I must be paying this cleaner $30,000 a month to come like just wait on me hand and foot. Nah, it's a service that cost me $200. Just like your Yeezy Zoom, whatever X, Y, and Z's cost you $450. The difference is that I'm not going to be cleaning this house with my flip flop on. But you are cleaning your house with your Yeezys on. It's a choice.
Yeah, it is.
Right? And you have the motto. I don't want to butcher it, but you say it all the time. Every day you wake up.
Oh, every day you wake up, you got a chance and a choice.
A chance and a choice, man.
Yeah.
So and that's why I'm glad, right? I'm obviously I have my show, which is more so business oriented. I've been dying for you to start up your show because, it's finances, help, putting people on the business, showing a lot of stuff. But these conversations are valuable, but we can't beat ourselves up if people don't take the information.
No, yeah.
And I've been starting to be more open with myself because I used to beat myself up a lot, man. It's like, a part of it is you start doing well and, the automatic complaint is, oh, they started doing well and they forgot where they came from. No, that's not the case. It's just that, like, I also know that I logged 18-hour days for 5 straight years, working multiple jobs while working, like building out multiple businesses. Like, literally gained 50 pounds, just like overweight and unhealthy, trying to get somewhere ahead because I didn't want to be trapped in the cycle of where I was at.
Mhm.
So if you're not willing to do that, then success will never be okay for you. You will never have it. So I had to start being okay with that because people used to try to make us feel bad. All these, we've had these conversations,
Yeah.
but trying to make us feel bad about those things. But that's not the case, man. Like money is abundant, and that's the topic of this episode. I think that's where it kind of morphed into.
Yeah.
You know, money is abundant, and it's going to forever be abundant. And I'm always going to view it that way, and I'm never going to view it as a scarce resource that I can't get or that is not readily available for all of my friends and family and people who care enough to listen. I wish I could drop the mic on that one. Drop the mic.
Hey, absolutely. And one last thing, because you kind of hit on it and you said it without saying it, but at the end of the day, especially when it comes to your money, there's going to be some type of sacrifice. You heard the sacrifice that he had to make to get where he is, right? And I think a lot of times people want to get the glory without the sacrifice. They want to keep being able to go out every week, and they want to keep buying Yeezys and Gucci belts and Gucci flip-flops, but they also want to continue to ascend to higher levels of financial freedom, but the two don't work together. You can't continue spending money on things that are losing their value as soon as you put them on, or as soon as you get in and drive away, and expect to increase your value in your bank account. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on, I don't know how much time I'm gonna share. I'm gonna share one story. This is gonna be my ending story. I promise.
All right.
Right. So I had a big deal that I was making about a year ago. Right. It required a lot of capital. So what I did was I hit my line brother Eric. I said, "Hey, bro, I'm about to be making a real big play. I need your couch." I liquidated everything and I slept on his couch to make sure that like that play I didn't miss my opportunity. Right. But I know so many people who's like give up my apartment, sleep on a couch to do what? No. Now that play paid all the way off and life changed forever, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
I saw my opportunity and I was not going to lose that opportunity. And I wanted every single dollar that I had available to be put into that play. So what, hey, and then once again, my line brother, I love him to death. Is like finding people who you care about. I say, hey, bro, I gotta stay on your couch, and on top of that, I gotta stay on your couch for free, and I'm gonna eat in your fridge for free, bro. And he said, okay, like, what's up? I said, here's the play that I'm trying to make, bro. I need every dollar to go towards this. This is a 110% home run. I gotta do it. And
Yeah.
all right, bro, here's the couch. Here's what you need. Here's a spare bedroom. Here's X. Like, do whatever you need to do. And I would have done the same thing in return for him. So that's what it means by, trying to find people and put people in your corner that matter. And Eric is pretty humble, but I'll always make the plug. This dude helps me with my finances, right? It like these things matter. So having a coach matters. I'm gonna plug that in. He just released this course. I'm gonna plug it in on your behalf. But it's like these are the things that people need to be doing for a small investment for themselves. They can get ahead, right? So I'm just gonna push, man. I'm gonna keep on. I'm proud of you. Episode 1, I feel super honored, man. Like deeply. I just want to thank you again for having me on episode 1. That means a lot. Obviously we have a lot of respect for each other, and I'm gonna continue to push that. And whatever you need from me, brother, to get this word out there, just let me know.
Hey, I really appreciate you once again. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't been the finance bruh. It wouldn't be tied to In the Smoker if I didn't have you here. Because whether, people know it or not, with this journey of, creating my businesses, this dude has been an integral part of my growth and my success and pulling me from my failures as well. So I want to thank you once again. I can't wait for people to see this. I'll tell you, I'm really excited about the show. This is show 1, but there's so many conversations that need to be had, and I think this is the forum that is going to allow people to hear these conversations and learn from people in a way that isn't really out there. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people come around, you go to a finance podcast and it's a 401k is what you need to retire by the age of 67, blah blah blah, and it's like, bro, that's boring. No one cares about that. Like, I want to have real conversations with real people about real things when it comes to money, because that's what's going to make a difference, right? So, everyone that listen, please, I want to thank you for tuning in. There'll be definitely episodes coming up, more episodes. So stay tuned. But in conclusion, before we get out of here, Andre, do you have any more plugs? I know you have a podcast as well, so I want you to go ahead and at least put that out there for everyone to come check you out.
Yeah, so like my podcast and YouTube channel right now is called The Real Revenue Show, where we kind of focus on showing individuals how they can scale any business model. Business is a mathematical formula. You just have to figure it out and apply those things. So if you come on down our channel, The Real Revenue Show, it's myself and another one of my brothers, Malcolm. Really trying to show people that business isn't what it's made out to be. It's another real show about real stuff that's going on in business. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I show you guys how to actually run a business, how to hire and fire people, like what really goes into the process. Should you take a loan or not? Like, should you go and get investors or not? Like, what do these things look like? So I'm excited. You can find me on Instagram at Andre M Truss, Truss. So Andre M Truss. And I'm available. I'm very approachable. I'm very reachable. I know sometimes I don't come off that way, but from the hundreds of people who reached out to me and have, had conversations with me, I'm very open to having conversations, debate, and trying to push this topic forward, right? I don't think money is reserved for a few people. I think everyone could live a rich and fulfilling and prosperous life. So that's my plug. Once again, I appreciate you, brother.
Hey, absolutely. So, hey, to end the show, I just want to, get everyone to subscribe to the Finance Bruh on whatever listening service that you're using today. Please leave us a review. And you can also go to my website, www.endthesmoker.com, to purchase my ebook, which is called The End the Smoker Mindset, as well as my budgeting course, the End the Smoker Budgeting Course. All right. So please check those out as well. Show us some support. And I appreciate y'all. Let's get in the smoker. And then boom. Here we go. Let me stop the